impact is such. It was just like jamming your brakes on.
It's 10th April, 1912. RMS Titanic, the world's largest and most luxurious ship of its time, on its first journey. This ship is going from Southampton, England to New York, and it's packed with all kinds of people, from big industrialists and actors to immigrants who are going to America in search of a better life. The command of this ship is controlled by 62-year-old Senior Captain Edward John Smith. The passengers, the public, and the media are very excited about this Titanic. After all, it is not only the world's largest ship, 269 meters in length and more than 50 meters in height, but the luxury used to build it is heart-wrenching. In those days, the cost of building this ship was $7.5 million. If you take inflation into account, it is equal to $450 million today. The facilities and decorations inside the ship would leave behind a 5-star hotel, stained glass windows, ornate wood paneling, 2 large grand staircases, a heated swimming pool, Turkish bath, electric bath, a gym, a squash court, 4 restaurants, 2 barbershops, and a library. Moreover, the type of safety features used to make the Titanic, considered unsinkable, it was a ship that could never sink. Because it was so safe, the White Star Line was the name of the company who built the Titanic. The vice president of the company was so confident about it that he openly said in front of the public that the ship was unsinkable. But only 2 days after departing on his first journey, on 12th of April 1912, the Titanic begins to receive its first ice warnings. The Atlantic Ocean, on which the Titanic is heading towards America, is the place where the ice is present. There are mountains of ice, icebergs that are a threat to the ship. These warnings are not an unusual thing. The ships passing through the sea often communicate with the ships around them through radio that there is a lot of ice in this area of the sea, to move forward carefully. After receiving these warnings, the Titanic changed its course twice to avoid danger, but it didn't slow down. 21.5 knots, which is equivalent to 25 miles. The ship kept moving forward at the same speed towards its destination. 2 days later, on April 14th, 1912, 7 more ice warnings are given. But Captain Smith and his crew adopt these warnings. They don't slow down the Titanic's pace. Gradually, the sun sets. It becomes night. The temperature drops. The special thing about this night of 14th April is that the moon didn't come out. There was no moonlight without the moon, so the visibility was very low that night. There is a crow's nest on the ship, a small platform that is quite high. You can call it a lookout point. Someone is always kept here so that they could keep an eye on what was coming in front of them to make sure there was no traffic or obstructions. So the person who was sitting there had to face a lot of cold. The cold air was flowing very fast. It was nighttime, and the cold air would make you tear up, which would make it even more difficult to look ahead. At 11:49 p.m., a man named Frederick Fleet was sitting in this crow's nest. Suddenly, he saw a huge mountain of ice in front of him. An iceberg has arrived. He quickly rings the bell 3 times so that the people sitting below could hear it. Then he picks up the phone and calls the officers on the bridge. He shouts and says, "There's an iceberg in front of us! Turn the ship quickly!" First Officer William, sitting on the bridge, hears this instruction and sends a message to the engine room to turn the ship in the left direction. But unfortunately, it's too late. Only 1 minute later, at 11:40, the ship collides with this iceberg. The Titanic was a new breed of luxury liner. Among passengers were many of the wealthy and influential. The band played the gayest tunes and American ragtime dances. The time was 11:40. The iceberg grazed the right side of the ship, and all of a sudden, she lifted up quickly. Everything that was movable was going through her. I didn't think it was serious because I didn't think it was possible a big ship like that would sink. It sank very quickly. This iceberg wasn't a small iceberg either. It was 200 by 400 feet in length, as big as a football field, and it was reaching the crow's nest in height. Scientists estimate that the iceberg weighed 1.5 million tons. The Titanic collided with the iceberg on the front right side of the ship. Specifically, it collided with the bow. For about 10 seconds, the ship kept sinking along with the iceberg, and there was a huge dent. Due to this, some small holes were found in the ship's main body. A few seconds after the collision, Captain Smith and the ship's architect, Thomas Andrews, immediately arrived to see how badly the ship had been damaged by the impact. When they saw it, they realized that the ship would sink. They were completely shocked to see it. By looking at it, they thought that the ship was unsinkable, that it could never sink. In the beginning of the video, I told you that this ship was considered unsinkable because the safety features of this ship were amazing. 20 minutes after the clash, at 12 o'clock in the night, Captain Smith orders his crew members to send a distress call to the radio. The nearby ships might catch our signal and come to save us. Senior radio operator Jack Phillips, the hero of our story, keeps sending distress signals one after the other. No response. They send more and more. There must be a ship nearby to listen to our signal. 20 minutes later, at 12:20 a.m., RMS Carpathia, a ship that was near the Titanic, catches the signal. The Titanic operator on the radio says, "Let's turn the ship towards the Titanic, and we'll go to save it." The problem is that the ship was close, but it was still 107 kilometers away. If it goes towards the Titanic at its top speed, even if it goes towards the Titanic, it will take 3.5 hours to reach the Titanic. How can a Titanic be saved in 3.5 hours? The rest of the crew members, players, and rockets are setting fire, hoping that a ship nearby would pay attention to them. But unfortunately, there was no response from any other ship other than the Carpathian ship. Meanwhile, the captain of the ship, they gave orders to evacuate the passengers by using the lifeboats in the ship. According to the protocol, the women and children would get the first priority to board the lifeboats. Talking about the passengers in the ship, they weren't too scared. Most of the passengers believed that the Titanic was an unsinkable ship. There was nothing to worry about. After all, the company that released the ads was repeatedly saying the same thing. So yes, they must have collided with the iceberg, but the ship wasn't going to sink. For this reason, when the first lifeboat was taken down, it had the capacity of 65 people, but only 28 people boarded that lifeboat. Half of the lifeboat was left empty, but as time went by, one compartment after the other was filled with water. The ship started tilting. Gradually, the passengers realized that the ship could actually sink, and when the passengers realized this, it was a chaos, and people started running in panic. By 1 a.m., the water had filled up the compartments in front of the ship. That the front part of the ship, the boat of the ship, was sinking in the water. Because of this, the back part of the Titanic came out of the water. But unfortunately, there was no response from any other ship other than the Carpathian ship. Meanwhile, the propellers came out of the water. When the tilt of the ship was so high, the ship was completely shaken. People started fighting with each other to sit on the lifeboats. The problem was that there was a severe shortage of lifeboats on the ship. There were only 20 lifeboats. Approximately only 1,200 people could come on it. But there were around 2,200 people on the ship. At 2:05 a.m., the last lifeboat was taken off the Titanic, but there were still 1,500 people in the ship. In the midst of this chaos, some people tried to snatch their place in the lifeboat, but some people accepted their fate and stayed in the ship. It was chaotic at the end. Everybody was crying, praying, trying to get into the few lifeboats that were left. No, it was pretty sad at the end. According to the eyewitnesses, at 2:20 p.m., the ship broke into two pieces, and then it slowly sank into the water. It didn't even take 3 hours for this never-to-dive ship to sink into the water. The 1,500 people on the ship either sank into the water with the ship, or the people who knew how to swim were killed due to hypothermia. Captain Edward Smith of the Titanic ship is said to have been on his wheel till the end, and he sank with the ship. On the other hand, some people believe that he had committed suicide by firing on himself. The RMS Carpathia ship that was supposed to save the people of the Titanic reaches this location at 3:30 or 4. About an hour late to save the people who were present on the ship, but the people who had left the ship in the lifeboats, there were about 705 people, were successfully saved by the ship. If you liked the video, so must do like and subscribe the channel.